Michael, welcome to the A Safe Pool podcast. It's good to have you back.
Good to be here.
I think I just want to dive right in, really, and, really talk more about why water safety is really more important than ever.
When I go back to really why my mom put us in the water, that was the main reason. It's for water safety. My sisters were obviously swimming at that time, and I'm always around the pool. You're around lakes, you're around the ocean. Doesn't matter where, you're always around something water-wise. And, for me, it was just trying to be safe, trying to feel comfortable and be as relaxed as I possibly can. So for me, starting as I learned to swim, it's the reason why I was able to do what I did. I naturally fell in love with the sport. It was kind of home for me. It still kind of is. If I kind of feel my mind kind of drifting and spiraling, that's kind of my therapeutic way of just relaxing and dropping my shoulders a little bit. Yeah.
Love that.
Just going and swimming for a mile.
Yeah.
I feel like that for me, even though it's 30, 35 minutes or whatever it might be, it's, I feel like it's a complete reset. So for me, naturally, I guess personally, it's more than just sport for me. But for others, I know it can give them so much in their life, whether it's freedom, whether it's confidence, the list can go on and on. And for me, that was really kind of why I wanted to start that mission of trying to create something where people can be water safe, right? Whether that's in the water, teaching them how to swim, whether it's on their back or on their stomach. I learned how to swim on my back because I was afraid to put my face into the water. So, everybody's going to learn differently. Right. So, for me with my foundation, that was kind of my mission. How can I give back? And, I know we lose so many humans, kids and adults, to drowning incidents. And for me, that's something I'd like to try and change. I'd like to try and help prevent. Again, swimming has been a part of my life, and it will be a part of my life forever. It's a big chapter of my life. And, I just want to help as many people as I possibly can. Yeah.
And, we're completely on the same page there. We're so passionate about that, in which, our missions align so perfectly. I want to ask you, how old were you when you started swim lessons, or when you started swimming? When were you in the water? When did mom put you in?
7, I guess.
Were you?
Yeah, 6 or 7 years old. Yeah. My mom put me into the water. Like I said, I was afraid to put my face under.
Yeah.
So my instructor, Miss Kathy, she taught me just to be on my back. And naturally over time, I felt okay with the water feeling around my face and that sensation. And I just became confident and comfortable. And just fell in love with the sport naturally.
But you just said that it's key, isn't it? It's really, there's many ways to get there, but feeling confident around the water, loving the water, right? But also having respect for water, right? Which is why we talk about drowning prevention.
Correct.
Your foundation, the Michael Phelps Foundation, and how you and Nicole are giving back. And so I know we've covered it, but I really want to dive deeper into that. Definitely drowning prevention, teaching the children to swim, and also mental health, right? Yeah. That's big for you as well. Can you touch on your journey a little bit more?
Yeah, we started our Michael Phelps Foundation strictly for water safety. That was our first kind of avenue that we started it with. And for me, again, that was really how I got into the sport, and partnering with Special Olympics and Boys and Girls Club, being able to give them that tool, I think was so important. But I think through time, I learned that I struggle with depression and anxiety. So I became a lot more open with my own mental health journeys and talk about maybe the thoughts that I go through or the feelings that I go through. And sometimes that is difficult, but it's a part of me and it's a part of my story. So, and I think there are so many people that are struggling with this, or in some way, shape or form. I think it affects a lot more families than we possibly imagine. And, for me, speaking out about it, I think one has made me feel okay with who I am and comfortable with who I am. I think for a long time, I felt like I was different or not normal or this, that, and the other with having these feelings or these thoughts, where in reality, I'm just a normal person who's struggling. And I think, for me, learning more about mental health, I think kind of gave me the mental and physical health look at life, right? If I can look at both of those and put enough time into both of them, then naturally I'm able to be the best version of me. And my kids call me Aquaman, so I guess I get to be my own superhero too. So,
right. That's right.
And I think we can all look at it that way, right? We all talk about taking care of our physical health, making sure we're in shape or this, that, and the other. But we forget about our mental health. And that's something that's so important. You know, if you're starting to be negative, then guess what's going to happen? The rest of your life is going to become negative. You're going to go into that pattern and that routine, and everything will just be that spiral. So, you know, I think if you really do pay attention to both, we have the opportunity to truly be the best version of ourselves. And for me, yeah, with 4 boys, with everything I have going on, you know, if I'm not paying attention to my self-care, I'm not giving myself the best chance to be me.
It's so true. And you say that, and I don't know why, but I feel like there's some sort of stigma, right? We talk about stigma surrounding mental health. And I think for the longest time, me being a mom of 2 girls, I always came last. Yeah. Right. And we talk about postpartum, you know, all of these things. And I wished that I would have taken better care of myself and my mental health, right? Yeah. Because if we aren't filling our own bucket, and if we can't do that, we're not serving anybody else well or ourselves. And I personally wish, you know, being touched by so many sadly tragic stories surrounding mental health, to me, it should be in schools. It should be everywhere because it is really the foundation. You know, everybody, like you said, is so, let's go work out. We want to be the best physical versions we can be. But that mental health, I mean, it is everything. Yeah, 100%,
right? Without question. You know, it's something we started talking about with our boys. You know, our boys, you know, obviously there are a lot of big emotions in the house, and
that's right.
A lot of screaming and sometimes punches thrown, kicking, shoving, things that are objects that are thrown.
Right.
You know, so at times, you know, they need to be able to take that deep breath, and we have implemented this thing called a lion breath, and they just roar as deep as they possibly can, just scream. And at that point, then they're able to take that step back and be like, well, Beckett did this, or Boomer did this, or Maverick did this, and they can talk it through instead of compartmentalizing it and letting it pile to the point where they explode.
That's right.
And I can talk about that because I'm used to be really good at that. I used to be really good at compartmentalizing. So, you know, watching my kids kind of have different tools than what we had growing up, and able to feel that they're allowed to talk about things, I think is really cool as a dad to watch.
And you're teaching them so well. I know you and Nicole know this, but it's right. It's humbling, and you try and you do the best you can. But can you imagine, and it's why I love that this is part of your foundation too, is if everybody had these tools, right? And we give tools all day long, stranger danger, you know, all these things.
But I think in that sense, like, you know, when you talk about, you know, trying to implement these changes on mental health where it should be in schools, it should be talked about more. It's really even bigger than that. It's like you have to make that generational shift.
That's right.
You know, like my mom and her mom and their moms or their parents never talked about these things.
That's right.
They meant to put this front up, and they pretended like everything was okay, when in reality, that's not real. And no, not knocking them, like no harm. But it's just real, you know, like, and it's, you know, if we truly want to talk about it and make that change, then we have to address these things, and we have to be vulnerable. And that's something that's scary for a lot of people.
It is.
You know, for me, becoming vulnerable and opening up and talking about the struggles that I was going through wasn't something that was easy. But after the fact, I was like, that was it?
That was
cool.
it, yeah.
Like, wow, I can sit taller, like I'm happier, like I feel like I'm not filled up. Like
lighter probably.
Yeah, it just felt great.
Great.
So you know, for me, vulnerability is something that's so important. You know, I was kind of one foot on the boat, one foot on the dock, but before I really opened up, and you know, I think I'm looking back 10 plus years ago, I'm happy I made that leap onto the boat and was ready to make that change.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. And we talk about the other side of the Michael Phelps Foundation, you know, which is, can you talk a little bit more about, you know, your mission for, you know, water safety? Yeah. Right. So what you guys provide? We
partner with the Special Olympics and Boys and Girls Club. Yeah. And honestly, it's just learn to swim. You know, like I'm not a fan of ISR training, you know, just kind of throwing your kid in the water and they naturally turn over it. Yeah, I get it. You know, from a mental health standpoint, you know, I think it could cause trauma later down the line. I don't have scientific evidence. It's just me personally saying that because you know, I was afraid to get into the water myself. Yeah. So the curriculum that we have is based on the curriculum that I was taught to swim, that Miss Kathy wrote a long time ago, you know, 40 years ago. Right. And, you know, and it's all about getting that kid comfortable and confident, right? Like, getting into a body of water is naturally pretty scary if you've never done it before, right? You feel the water splashing all over your face, the waves kind of pushing you all over the place. You can get freaked out pretty easily, right? And if you get freaked out, it can happen like that, right? So for me, it's just teaching that comfortability in the water. Yeah, just trying to have kids overcome these obstacles and these fears. We've had kids who have lost family members in the pool and their parents won't let them get anywhere close to the water again. And these kids are adamant about trying to get into the water and trying to swim. We've multiple stories where kids don't pass the first or second time and they come back the third year and they finally get that confidence and they pass it and they do better in school and they're helping more around the house and their goals are there, right? So they're driven and they're confident and it gives them that freedom. So for me, kind of lifting that barrier out from in front of kids almost in a way and giving them that freedom to just do and be whoever they want to be, I think is so important. For me as a kid growing up, I had so many people tell me I'd never amount to anything and people told me I'd never be successful. But that was motivating. And I was able to swim through these barriers and jump through these obstacles and go over these mountains. And yeah, it does work, but you have to have somebody to believe in you. And for me, I believe in anybody that has a breath truly can do whatever they want, right? Like, I believe that, there are so many obstacles or people that are put into boxes and it's not right and it's not fair. So for me, swimming is a way, that I've been able to feel free and to be me. And, hopefully I can give that piece to somebody else.
And you are, right? When you think of this foundation and the gifts that you are giving these children, it's...
hopefully they're life-changing lessons that they can carry on throughout their life, right? And sharpen up these tools that they learn and that they gain. And, life's going to give you so many different obstacles and so many different challenges. And, it all depends on how you're going to handle those. And for me, I always like being prepared for every challenge, right? So if you can give kids tools that I never had, maybe others never had growing up. Yeah. You never know what the future can bring.
That's right. And it's empowering them, right? I think empowerment's huge too. So when we talk about water safety and you're teaching them to swim and we want confidence in the water, something that came to mind for me too, as we dig even deeper into drowning prevention is respect for the water, right?
Yep.
I think there's times where parents can get overconfident about water safety as if supervision is enough. So it's come to me more so lately. It's like, empowering these children though, and giving them the tools to watch out for each other. When we talk about drowning, we talk about it silent, and a lot of times it can be mistaken for play. There are children in the water. Someone is flailing, but it's not enough. It looks like they're playing.
Or like I have my kids sit on the bottom and blow ring bubbles.
Right.
And it's like they watch me do it and then they do it. Right. I'm like, guys, come on. I got a little bit more experience than you do in this. Let's be careful.
Right.
But yeah, to your point, I think it can happen so fast. And, for me, when I think of water, obviously the story from the beginning of, me being afraid of the water, everything, naturally I've learned everything that I can possibly know about the water. And I still am not afraid of the ocean, but it's a different beast. I'm not afraid to get into a swimming pool because I know where the drains are. I know where the gutters are. I know what to stay away from, this, that, and the other. I just know where to, I see a black line, I swim over top of the black line.
Exactly.
I don't do anything else.
So the ocean's really big and you don't know what's coming?
But it's like the current, everything, feels and everything for me are so important when I'm swimming. And in the ocean, I have no feel. I pull the water here. I feel the water on the top and the bottom of my feet when I kick. So it's all of these little small feelings that I don't get there. So it's just different. Yeah. So I have a different respect for the ocean than probably most people on this planet do, because I know anything can happen out there. Those tides, those currents, it's crazy. Yeah. But naturally, for a swimming pool, supervision that's important, but we have to have so many other layers, right? There are so many different things that can happen in a pool, and as we talked about, it can happen so fast. Like the drains, those something that those things can suck and it can hold you under. So we just have to be very careful to always make sure we're playing safe, but we're having fun around the pool. For me, I was always getting in trouble. I was always benched around in the pool growing up, because I was probably roughhousing and playing too hard. I was a boy and grew up with sisters, and it was the time that I got to act out.
Right.
So I got benched and had to learn very early about playing around a pool. And then naturally turned into my career. And for me, we see drownings happen every single year. And for me, again, I want to make sure we're taking all the right precautions and checking off all the boxes, and all of the layers are covered to where we can be safe around the pool, but still have fun. With 4 boys, now it's even more important for me. My kids have been in the water since they were 3 to 6 months old, and they know how to swim, but it can happen like that.
In a second. We talk about layers of protection because, I say to people, it's not enough to just have us come in and put a fence around your pool. Okay. That's not everything. We talk about even door alarms. I mean, layers, there are many of them. And I honestly feel like they keep growing as they should. Water
cameras, everything.
Right. Yeah. Water watchers, never turn your back, and as I was talking to Michelle, which we'll meet soon, teaching the children what it looks like to have your parents watching you. Yeah. So if you can't see my eyes, I can't see you.
Yep. I think that's like a lot of people get so anxious when they're in water, especially first timers. So find some way of comfort, safety, find if they're okay being on their stomach or on their back. We
want to set up the barrier, right? Yeah. We definitely want to have a barrier first and foremost, I think, before we do anything. And, most recently we're doing door alarms and, just different layers.
Of course.
And then I think for
me,
me,
think about that. We have those in the house already.
Yeah.
We've had them in both the homes here in Arizona, door alarms.
Yep.
And then once we moved into the house we're in now, because we had kids then, the pool fence has been up the whole time.
Yeah.
So.
Right. And as we talk about it, it's peace of mind, right? But it's not enough.
No.
Right. So I think, looking back, I think I probably wished I would have. I know my girls, we talked about it. We talked about water safety, but probably what that looks like, what they should be watching for, what they should expect, confidence around the water, fun, because look, parents, they get distracted, it happens.
So I think, for us, it just allows us to take that deep breath and know we have an extra layer there that we know that they're not going to get through it.
And I think lastly, I think there's misconceptions on drowning, how it happens. A lot of times, people will say, well, in the movies, they're flailing and they're, and that really isn't the case.
Yeah. It just kind of happens.
Right. It's very silent and it can happen in a second. And the truth is it can happen when they're right next to you.
Yep.
The story I always tell is, of our girls definitely had the pool safety fence, had it all. I was in there with them and it was a beach entry kind of, but then it stepped down.
Yep.
And, I was facing Brantley. She was in front of me. Our youngest Bree was to the side of me and close to the ledge. And I will never forget it. She had gotten off the ledge I couldn't hear it, Michael. I couldn't hear a thing. She was bobbing in the water and our oldest said, "Mama, Bree." And she was right there. So I do feel like there's so many misconceptions. And so that's why when we say it doesn't just stop at the pool fence because, now we're in the water. Yeah. Parents can be in the water. Other children can be in the water. You can never take your eyes.
100% without question. No, it's, when they're out there, when we have all 3 of the kids in there, 3 of the oldest. Yeah. We have 4, but the 1-year-old's not fully in there swimming yet. Yeah. When the 3 out there are multiple eyes that are looking, multiple parents that are out there. Because, to your point, it can happen so quick. And I've lost competitors, friends in the swimming world, whether it's an open water accident, whether it's just kids doing drills in the pool and shallow water blackout happens. So it does happen quick. And I think that's the important thing is just making sure we know about what we're getting into, know the do's and the don'ts, and safety is always first.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Thanks for coming over again and talking with us a bit more about water safety, and so much more. Yeah. Hey, this is Tonja. Thank you for watching the A Safe Pool podcast. If you'd like to know more about water safety, please visit us at asafepool.com.